All right, here is the video for notes 3-5 arc length and sector area. So first talking about arc length. Arc length is basically the length of a portion of the circumference of a circle. So we've talked about arc measure before. Arc measure is the degree measurement. So in this case, X would be the degree measurement, but arc length is basically like if we were to cut this piece off of a circle and measure it with a ruler, that would be arc length. So the formula for arc length is that it's the fraction of the total circumference. So your fraction is going to be x over 360. So however many degrees over a total of 360 degrees, that's the portion of the circle you're looking at, times this represents the total circumference. So this part represents the fraction of the circle. Times the total circumference. So all we have to do is plug in the degree measurement and then the radius. If you're given the diameter, make sure that you have half of that. So looking at example 1, in this case it says find the length of EF. Okay, so find the length of EF. So first thing, it's going to be the fraction of the circle. So it's going to be 120 over 360 times 2 times pi times your radius, which is going to be 6. Okay, so in this case, I want two answers. Well, the first answer is called your answer in terms of pi, which basically means we're going to take these numbers and we're going to multiply it. And then our answer is going to be whatever that is times pi. So what I mean by that is we're going to do 120 over 360. That's our fraction of a circle, times 2. We're going to skip over the pi and we're just going to do times 6. So when we multiply that, that equals 4. So my answer in terms of pi is going to be 4 times pi, and our units in this case is going to be meters. So this is our answer in terms of pi. This is our exact answer. And then to get our approximate answer, we're going to actually multiply out 4 times pi, which I'm just going to use 3.14, or you can use the pi button. So our approximate answer, 4 times 3.14, or if you prefer, you can use the pi button. So it's going to be 12.56. So this is our approximate answer. So again, to get your answer in terms of pi, you multiply the number, skip over the pi. So 4 pi meters is the exact answer. And then to get the approximate, you do 4 times 3.14. Okay. So let's look at a word problem example. So it says Alice is riding a merry-go-round at Six Flags. The merry-go-round has a diameter of 20 feet. So I'm just going to draw that. So diameter goes all the way across. Okay, we want to know how far does she travel when the merry-go-round has traveled an arc of 55 degrees. So an arc of 55 degrees might look something like this. Okay, we want to know how far she travels in this case. Okay, so we're going to be using arc length. So our fraction of the circle is going to be 55 over 360. Remember that in our formula 2 pi r, our radius is half the diameter, so that's going to be 10. So times 2 times pi times my radius, which is going to be 10. You can also think of 2 times pi times r is the same thing as pi times diameter. So in that case, if you want to use just 20 times pi, it's the same thing as 2 times 10 times pi. All right, to get my answer in terms of pi, we're going to go ahead and just multiply the numbers. So our fraction times 2 times 10. Okay, so it gives me a decimal. So we can simplify our fraction, or we can go ahead and just write this out. So 55 over 18. So my exact answer is going to be 55 over 18 pi. And my units in this case are going to be feet. So there's my exact answer. And then to get my approximate answer, we're going to do 55 over 18 times 3.14. We get 9.59. So since this is a word problem, we're going to give a word answer. So we're going to say the merry-go-round travels 9.59 feet. So you can just give your approximate answer in your word problem. All right, so now let's talk about sector area. So sector area is the same idea, but instead of a fraction of the whole circumference, it's just a fraction of the area. So again, we need to be given the fraction of the circle as well as the radius. So this first part represents the fraction of the circle. And this equation represents the total area. Okay, so the process is relatively the same, it's just a different formula. So in this case, our fraction is going to be 110 over 360 times, and then since we're trying to find sector area, we're going to do pi times my radius squared. Okay, so to get my exact answer, our fraction over 360, okay, we're going to skip over the pi, and we're just going to type in the number to get our answer in terms of pi. So 16 squared. To get the fraction, 704 over 9 pi. Our units are going to be meters. Actually, our units are going to be meters squared since area units are always squared. And to get the approximate, we're going to do 704 over 9 times 3.14. So 245.62 meters squared. So the reason we don't write pi again is because we actually multiplied by pi. So that's why it disappeared, right? So in terms of quantity, these are the same. They're just written in two different ways. One is in terms of pi, the other is our approximate answer. All right, let's look at this word problem. It says, a lawn sprinkler located on the corner of a yard is set to rotate through 85 degrees and project water out 25 feet. What area of lawn is watered by the sprinkler? So you can think of it this way, right? Here we have our lawn, okay? And say we have our sprinkler. Well, it's going to spray a certain amount, kind of like in a sector, okay? And the degree it sprays out is 85 degrees. It projects it out 25 feet, so that's going to be our radius of our sector. We want to know how much area does this cover? Well, to do that, we have our fraction of our circle. And then since we're finding area, we do pi times radius squared. So 85 over 360 times 25 squared. Get, as a fraction, 10625 over 72 pi, and our units in this case are going to be feet squared. There's our answer in terms of pi. To get our approximate answer, we're going to take that and multiply by 3.14. 463.37. So I'm going to say the area of lawn that is watered by the sprinkler is 463.37 feet squared. Okay, so now let's take a look at a couple of the homework problems. So starting with number 2. So for number 2, we're looking for arc length. So you do need to make sure you're using the correct formula. So arc length, the fraction of the circle, times 2 times pi times my radius. Okay. So 30 over 360 times 2 times 13. So it's going to be 13 over 6 pi meters. And to get my approximate, we're going to do 13 over 6 times 3.14. It's about 6.80. So exact and then approximate. All right, this next section we are doing sector area. So sector area, our fraction of the circle times pi times the radius squared. So we get 56 over 3 pi miles squared is our exact answer. And now to get our approximate, we're going to multiply that fraction by 3.14, so 58.61 is the approximate. All right, now take a look at problem number 5. So it says on a certain vehicle, 2 windshield wipers are 60 centimeters long, okay, and turns through an angle of 105. What area of the windshield is cleaned by both wipers, assuming they do not overlap? So in this case, we kind of have 2 sectors. So windshield wipers are going to clean something like this. For each one, we know that it has an sweeps through 105 degrees, and we know that each windshield wiper is 60 centimeters. Okay, and that's going to be the same for both. So since we're looking for area, we are going to use the area formula. So what I'm going to do is find the area of 1, and I'm just going to multiply that by 2 since we have 2 windshield wipers. So 105 over 360 times pi times radius squared. So make sure we're using the area formula since we're looking for sector area. Okay, so 1 windshield wiper sweeps through an area of 1,050 pi centimeters squared. Okay, but since I have 2 wipers, we're going to multiply that by 2. So 1050 times 2 gives me 2,100 pi centimeters squared, which is approximately, so we're going to multiply that by 3.14, 6,594 centimeters squared. So I'm going to say the area cleaned by both wipers is 6,494 centimeters squared.